Welcome back. It's going to be another ranty sort of Dominic off in his thoughts, caught up in his feelings sort of place. Now, I'm not trying to explain anything for anyone. I think I'm just trying to give a perspective based on how things have felt through conversations I've had, through interactions I've had in public. It's a difficult world to live in. If I am honest and I say there are obvious barriers that have been placed in front of me, I'm complaining, right? I'm using race as a card, as it were. I'm not picking myself up by my bootstraps. I'm not, getting out there and being the best I can be and doing everything that I can. And there are so many other examples of people who have triumphed over adversity, and it's a matter of willpower. I think the mixture of a lack of understanding, one, of what it means to be an adult, two, how to interact with society, how to deal with your own issues, how to have those issues kind of interwoven with the issues of the rest of the world, like other people. So, for example, you're having a bad day, right? Like, let's just say you're having a bad day. You have a bad day, you are going to carry that with you to some degree throughout the day. Depending on how you cope with dealing with negative situations, can determine how long you'll carry that during the day, but there's a potential that you'll carry it a lot during the day. It could be an argument with your boss, it could be, something your kids did, it could be something you woke up on the wrong side of the bed, you woke up, you had a, pain in your neck, and now you're just in a bad mood. Okay. So you're bringing that out into the world. The world, the people that you deal with, they are also dealing with things, right? And I'm not saying it to excuse away other people's behaviors. And I'm not even saying any of this to say that I feel I should be given some sort of pass, or I'm not looking for sympathy, right? But there are definitely moments in life where you have to look at things and you have to be realistic, right? Like, you have to look at the information placed in front of you. You have to see what is available, and then based on those circumstances, you then have to make choices about the things that you're going to do. I think that I've dealt with a lot of people who are still learning, who are still dealing with the concept that people aren't equal. I mean, it's very obvious and it's very apparent. And I think that because it became less blatant, right? It used to be a very hard line drawn in the sand. So it was, there are certain people that were in power, there are certain people that were not in power, and there was a difference in the way that those two people looked, and you could just say, oh, that's what the issue is. Now, because the system realized that to disenfranchise just one group of people isn't nearly as profitable as to disenfranchise everyone. I mean, I can think of two examples recently. One happened within the last week, where I went outside, and in the building that I'm in, and I know the person, not like I don't know the person, like I've seen the person go into the building. The building that I'm currently in has two entrances. So there's one in the front, one on the back. I was leaving to go outside to go to the grocery store. So I'm walking directly to my car. As I'm walking to my car, there's a car parked across from me, and the person made an effort to go outside of their car, around the building, and to the back to get into their apartment, as opposed to just walking across the parking lot. Because walking across the parking lot would have meant walking past my car to get into the building. You understand what I mean? Like, that's a weird place to be in when you're not doing anything except just trying to, like, complete tasks. to be reminded of the fact that people are actively aware of your presence and how you interact with the world outside. Like it has to be measured. You have to think about it all the time. I can't go outside and look really upset. And not upset like sad upset. I can't look mad. Like if I look mad and I'm outside, it will be noticeable. The difference in reaction that I get from people. Now I wear, shirts with graphics on it, like Dragon Ball or Marvel characters, what have you. And then people, oh, hey, I like your shirt, and semi-positive reactions. And I guess the mask situation helps, because then people can't see my face, so they can't see the full look that I might have. They might see like the eyes, but they can't see the full look. So they're potentially a little bit less likely to be, standoffish. But it's an interesting reality to live in, to feel everyone looking at you. You know what I mean? And I get that people will say there's a paranoia, but there was definitely, and I'm not even going to go into all of the references. I was looking back over the video that I did, and I know that I've mentioned in the past not wanting to have very uncomfortable conversations on the channel. But then I also said that I wanted the channel to be honest and open, and for people to be able to feel comfortable and welcome. And in order to do that, I need to be honest. And honest means that sometimes it's going to be uncomfortable. So moving forward, I'm not going to seek out topics, but you will hear things that I will talk about that are going to be uncomfortable. So I'll try and title things. So if you're interested, you can listen and you can find out what I'm saying. But if it offends you, I'll be honest, if it offends you, I'd question why you're offended. Because I'm not using any profanity or saying anything that's not true or verifiable with just a very simple Google search. So I wanted to throw that in because I do remember there was a time, not that I've been putting up videos for that long, but a time when I was like, I'm going to try and avoid certain topics. There are just going to be topics that I'm going to cover. I no longer know what topics are off limits. I mean, obviously try and do them as respectfully as possible, but if something comes up that becomes an issue, or we'll start going back and forth about it, it potentially will just come up on the channel. That I guess I could kind of pull up in both media, the news, the references of trying to make certain people's look bad, or try and reinforce certain ideas of those are people you need to be aware. You gotta watch them. It's weird because then when you talk to people about it, it immediately goes to this conversation about racism, and it goes to a conversation about people feeling judged and people getting defensive. I don't think that it has to be something that you have to be defensive about. I think it's more just being aware of your action, like what you're doing, like how that affects the other people around you, like being courteous of other people. Like if I saw somebody who had crutches, right? It's not me looking at them differently to say, oh, I might need to open the door for them. Now, if I see them go to open the door, I shouldn't just walk, like I should hold the door for them. They might be, having a difficulty. If they need help maybe carrying something up the stairs, maybe I could ask if they need help. The same sort of courtesy of, I know that in my head I'm already thinking things. I then am thinking more about my interaction with that person. It's weird that when I see people thinking about the interactions that they're having, the thought process is more, okay, is this going to be an interaction where it's going to be positive or negative? Like, am I going to have to worry about the situation that I'm currently in? Or is it going to be okay? Like, am I going to have a peaceful resolution to this person walking into my life? I would think that with the internet and all of the information as readily available as it is, it would be a little bit easier at this point. And I'll say with the internet readily available, saying that, give it the 20 years. So since 2001, there's been, you've had connectivity, the ability to research and find out information. Schools allowed people to use, the internet to do book reports and research stuff, so you have to go straight to the library. So the ability to find and access information openly is there, and it feels sometimes like people are just actively choosing not to educate themselves, like not to change what their perspectives are. Now, I'm not saying that every single person everywhere is going to be aware of everything. You know, that's a lot to ask. But if you know that you have dealt with a situation before and you've been uncomfortable because you know that the way that you think about the situation is improper, and you know that because you feel it, like you feeling uncomfortable because someone's around, you then need to look at why you feel uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like if I meet someone new, I don't automatically feel discomfort regardless of what they look like. They would have to do something to then make me think, okay, should I feel uncomfortable? Should I feel comfortable? If that's your immediate reaction, you get into a situation and there are people around you and you're automatically uncomfortable and like tense and on edge, you need to examine why you feel that way. So yes, could someone say, oh, well then if that's the case, I gotta learn about every culture and country and transgression that any person's ever lived through. I'm not saying anything against that. If you want to go out and learn, I mean, that's great. But what I'm saying is, if you, in your sphere of influence, your sphere of your social circle, your satellite of people around you, if you're finding that you're getting into situations where you're feeling uncomfortable, that's where I'm saying you need to educate yourself. And yes, obviously, educate yourself as much as possible about as many groups as possible and learn as much as you possibly can. But I think the problem is a lot of people just don't want to learn. Like the idea of learning isn't that it's learning, it's that it's someone telling them that they're wrong. And it goes back to like a child mentality. Like, you can't tell me I'm wrong or I'm bad. You don't know what I've lived. You don't know what I've done. And that's true. I don't know everybody's situation at all. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I don't know about people. What I'll say is I have seen reactions from people before and the lack of comfort. And it shouldn't have to be my responsibility to teach and educate other people about inequalities or why they might have stereotypes in their heads or anything. Like, it's not my, there's so much information out there. Just like for me, I'm learning to do this YouTube thing. I'm trying to learn, lighting and microphones and editing and all that stuff. There's tons of information out there. I don't need to go to anyone to find the information. You know what I mean? Like I could go out and find it on my own. If I choose that I don't want to know it, then fine. But I mean, there's Skillshare, there's YouTube video, there's all sorts of there's the whole internet for me to learn things. So for me to go to someone who's already, let's say, a large YouTuber, be like, oh, well, if you don't want to teach me about being a YouTuber, like how am I supposed to learn? There's tons of ways, lots of avenues, many worlds to explore out there. Like, if you just don't want to do the work, then I mean that's another conversation. But it doesn't feel like my responsibility in life is making sure that on top of, from childhood, having this thought process of you have to make everybody else comfortable, now that a lot more people are having conversations about inequalities and about the issues of the past and finally recognizing the transgressions, that I now, on top of having to make people feel comfortable before, I now need to educate them on how we move forward. And again, it's how we move forward that's comfortable for them. Like, how do we put it in a box for them so that they feel comfortable? It's not what do we need to do to move forward. So I use a lot of analogies, so I'll use another one. It's as if someone told you, I want to lose weight, right? I'm on a journey of self care, and I want to lose weight, and here's what my ideal weight and body type are. Okay. If that person then tells you, now hold on, I'm willing to have this conversation about losing weight with you, but I don't want to give up ice cream. I don't want to give up cheese. I don't want to give up, going to, I'm trying to think of like a really unhealthy, like just eating like a bunch of pasta, like going to like Olive Garden going to, you know, a fondue spot, like the melting pot, like a fondue plate that's eating just tons of cheese or very greasy foods, or I don't want to give up, eating ribs or soul food, but I really want to get in shape. You would then question, okay, well, I hear what you're saying, and I'm not saying it's 100% impossible, but you don't want to hear what the plan is to get there. You want me to figure it out around what's comfortable for you. I mean, again, not that can't happen, but it just feels like it'll take longer. It's like as if people are saying, I know this will take longer, but how can I do the work so it's easier for me to deal with the fact that I have to do work? Like, don't make me do something difficult. I don't want to just do difficult things. How do I do things so I can stay in my comfort zone and I can still feel like a good person at the end of the day, but I can also then tell my friends, hey, but I also do good work to make other people's lives better. Just so that there is some, I won't say background, because I don't think there needs to be background on what I'm saying, but for what I've been saying about people needing to be a little bit more honest about how they want information given to them, if they're asking, like, how do I help, how do I change things, I understand that it's kind of an accepted thought at this point that, oh, if you want to lose weight, if you want to do things, you got to find a path that'll be consistent for you. You got to find a way to do it that you'll be able to stick to. And I get that, and I can appreciate that thought process. But again, if it's getting to that point, we're not at the, oh, you're doing this for you and what's consistent for you. We're at the, you've gone to the doctor, they're telling you if you don't make these immediate changes, you are going to have health issues. Like, the health and the mental health, societal health, everything is at a point where, I mean, we're at a tipping point. People have got to realize that. Like, if people don't think that we're at that point now, just the point of the whole video is going to go just right over their head. But we're there. So I just want to put that there. Like, I get that people like to be in their comfort zone for certain things, but we're at that, like, crisis, critical point, and maybe we need to do a little bit more quicker. And that, I feel like we're so far past that point. Like, that's been going on for so long, and it hasn't gotten where it needs to get to. I mean, I suppose the idea is, well, if it gets there within, 200 to 300 years, then that's progress. And I mean, in the grand scheme of the life of the universe, I suppose anything that anybody does is a blip on that timeline. But in our actual timelines, it's significant. It means something. Especially when we know, hey, we used to have corded phones. You remember those things, corded phones that had like a cord? And if you were on the phone, you couldn't be on the internet. It doesn't exist anymore because someone said, I don't want to have to be either on the phone or the internet. And they made that happen. And then they said, hey, if I'm on the phone, I want to carry that phone with me. And then if I'm on the phone and I carry that phone with me, I don't like just watching TV at my house. Like, maybe I could watch it in the palm of my hand. And you know what? What about my music too? I would like to listen to my music as well. Like, that would be nice. Like, maybe I could listen to my music while I'm outside. And not on like one of those big CD players or cassette players or like have like a big boombox on my shoulder, but like something that could fit my pot, like something small. And you know what? I would actually really like it if the clarity of that thing was really good, like almost like a TV. Like, not like really bad clarity, like Go Gadget Watch or Dick Tracy, but like real clarity. Like, I could watch like an HD movie and it looks really good and the sound is great. That'd be really nice. But then people say, oh, well, there's all these wealth or income inequalities. I don't know how we're going to fix those. Really? You don't know? Okay. I can put an entire season of a show on my phone and watch it on demand, which previously had to be on cassette tapes, but we cannot figure out how to move forward in a productive... Okay. That feels like a choice. Like, it just feels like, oh, we're just choosing not to do it now because there's so many opportunities available. So, this was more of like a ranty, I was just kind of airing out there my lack of comfort. And since I have this platform to say things and no one's commented yet below other things, I'm just randomly putting stuff up. So I've recorded things and then I'll release them, and then as people ask for other things, I'll then break up this and then put the things potentially people are asking for. So if you comment below, then you'll hear other things, like other reactions or movies. You'll hear other stuff. It'll be great. So again, like, subscribe, comment below. Ideas, reactions, movies, TV, music, and we'll go from there.